Hello to whoever finds this journal. My days in Maryland have been rewarding as they are troublesome, and as often dangerous. I have spent the last 6 years assembling my notes in hopes the knowledge I have gained over the time spent in this world to bring good fortune to whoever finds this and to help them get a better understanding of the world they are about to enter. My intent is to create a compendium of how the world works, what it has to offer, and how you can survive and prosper. There are times I feel my work will only serve more confusion about what I found, but I also felt it necessary to compose my ideas and experience to illuminate a path to those who wish to explore. Contained within are recipes, survival tips, warnings, and more, all in an effort to promote safe travels and an overall awareness of the world you are entering. There will be times when you will be tested in ways this compendium can either prepare you for or help you from. Your choices as a player and a guild may lead to swift and unprecedented consequences. I believe this to be the ultimate guide for survival and success. Welcome to Mortal Online 2. Hello mortals and welcome, I'm Bravado, and today we are going to talk about weapon crafting. Now, because I'm doing this all on one character and one character can't do everything in the game, I'm going to demonstrate by making swords, and we will talk about the other types of weapons, what materials you should be using, and how the different materials affect the weapons, be it in the ways of weight, types of damage, and what you should be using for your type of weapon that you are making, and what damage type you should be aiming for when making the weapon. As always, there are links in the description for resources to help you plan out your character, where to find books, and other useful information to help you on your journey. Also, I am happy to finally announce the University of Maryland is now open and accepting new students and mentors. Learn the game at your own pace and find your way into the harsh world of Mortal Online. Join veteran players that are dedicated to teach new players the ropes, graduate, and join other guilds that will better fit your playstyle when you find the path you wish to take in this ever-growing world. Or become a mentor yourself and help players just like you. Join the official Field Guide Institute now. Let's get on with the video. Okay, first thing first, let's get the boring stuff out of the way and talk about skills you will need to become a weapon crafter. As stated, I do mining, extracting, refining, and weapon crafting, so with all of this, I can make swords up to tungsteel and tendremic messing, but no advanced metals. And I believe you can also do this on one toon, if you are specialized into only one weapon. It is also important to note, if you are making weapons for yourself or your guild, you can lock your crafting skills at 70 to help you save some points. At 70, the weapon can do max damage, but will suffer in durability, which most people don't see the weapon break before they die anyway. But make sure to have your extraction and refining skills to the max, and your material lores also maxed. I also stated in the refining guide that I couldn't fit alchemy extraction on this build, so because of the way I'm doing it, I have to find a workaround and do a little extra work for the materials I'm aiming to use. Much like anything crafting related, if you wanted to be a pure crafter of the craft, you will need 1,000 to 1,100 skill points. This will cover all the materials you will be using, including metals. So let's go over just the primaries, and remember, specializing into one or two weapon types or leaving the skill at 70 will help you redirect points to other skills you want to do, like fishing, cooking, extraction, so you're not totally relying on others to ask or buy materials from. The way I have my build is I can extract and refine up to tungsteel and tendremic messing, but I can only craft swords, with the trade of time and a little extra work. I cannot extract advanced metals like chronite and ogmium, nor can I craft with these metals because of it. So decide as you're reading skill books how you want to build your character, and if you have friends or guildmates to extract and refine or butcher the materials you are using. So let's start at the top of the list. I will only list those related to weapon crafting. If you are extracting and refining with your character, I have a mining guide and a refining guide for those skills, so make sure to check those videos out. So, under material lore, you will need animal materials, botany, petrology, metallurgy, and textile lore. These will cost you about 400 skill points and will be very important for you to have maxed. Animal materials like teeth, fur, leather, bones, horns, and possibly even scales, which adds another 100 points, will be mostly used as the core of your weapon or the grip of your handles of your weapons. We'll dive further into this later in the guide. Botany is the knowledge of wood. I have a woodcutter's guide to explain that woods are ideal for what type of craft. You will want this at 100, as wood will be mostly used as weapon cores or even blades for training weapons. When you're making training weapons, make sure to pay attention to the weight. The idea is to simulate how an actual PvP weapon will swing and handle in a safe environment with friends. Some woods you might be wanting to experiment with is sponge wood, white wood, gray wood. Just watch my woodcutter's guide to get a better understanding of these materials. Advanced wood is also a primary. Metallurgy is the knowledge of metals: steel, cuprum, messing, black, brawn, pig iron, etc. These will be used as the blade of the weapon or the weapon heads. You will need this at 100 to provide the max damage stats for the weapon. The metals you use determine the attack stat of the weapon. For simplicity, steel is good for piercing and slashing. Messing is mostly used for axes and maces because of the blunt damage. There is also advanced metals that is a primary. Textile lures are another material used for weapon grips. I use silks. Silks are excellent grips, albeit a little pricey, but they help keep the weapon's weight down. We will do comparisons later in this guide. So ideally, when you're leveling these skills, you want to use teeth, bone, and wood as the core of your weapon. I wouldn't worry about wood too much, unless you find a wood that actually works well with you. But the idea with the core of the weapon is you want to have durability and weight. So I mostly use teeth for the core of my weapons. Things like fur, silk, and leather make excellent grips. They also affect the durability and the weight. So everything relies on the handle of your weapon when it comes to durability and weight. Moving on, you will need weapon crafting. Who would have guessed? This should be obvious as what the skill does. You would ideally want this skill at 100. The weapon types is what you could get away with by keeping it at 70. If you experiment, you could possibly keep weapon crafting as a whole at 70, but don't quote me on that. Remember, you will get the damage, but not the durability. Under this skill, you will need handle and pole crafting. This is a secondary, but shares a primary with one-handed hilt crafting. This will allow you to craft handles for your weapon types. And underneath that is the two-handed and everything below that. Next, you will need basic blade crafting. This is a primary, and it speaks for itself. However, this parent skill shares another parent skill with blunt weapon crafting concerning axes. So if you're trying to be an extractor refiner, you will have to make the choice and figure out what to substitute if you want to craft axes. It is possible with a little bit more mining effort. The best way to train these weapon skills up is to take bone tissue and full grain leather to the workbench and craft a lot of weapons. And a pro tip, if you hold Alt and right click, you can delete multiple items at once. Note, 9 to 12 stacks of bone tissue and 1 to 2 stacks of full grain leather should max your crafting skills. Now let's get to the workbench. Okay, now that we know what skills we need, let's actually step over to the table. I'm here at the guild house, so we're in a safe area and we can take our time. The materials we're going to be using are quality leather, malarium, iron bone, horn, guard fur, silk, and flakestone. What I'm planning to do is mix and match and talk about how different materials affect the weapon in different ways. So hopefully I can execute it good. So we're going to open up the weapon crafting bench, and the first thing we're going to notice is we have a handle tab and a head tab. So on my screen, because I'm doing it all on one character and I'm extracting and mining and all that, I can only do swords. I do have daggers here that I can make, but this is where the list of what you can make will be. So we're going to make some two-handed swords. From here, a drop-down window happens, and we see we can make a curite hilt, a clean crossguard, a horned crossguard, a ringed crossguard, and a clover crossguard. If we drop down the swords on one handle, we have a turned hit, curved hit, horn hilt, etc. So you can find different hilts and different types of swords through different books and whatnot as they add into the game. Like I said, we're going to mix and match different handles and different blades and see exactly how things manipulate the weapon we're trying to make. Hilts are important because this is going to determine your durability and the weight of the weapon over a majority. So let's start with a curite hilt. So as you see, it pops up in this little window here, and we got to add some materials. So the first material we're going to be adding, and this is a ideal recipe, is we're going to put malarium into the core. The core is like it's the actual handle, and then we have a grip material. So we're going to use quality leather for this. When you do heavier metals and heavier weapons, you really want to use silk. That's going to help the weight of the weapon, and it's going to affect different things like that. But we're going to use the quality leather here. So as you see, it's highlighted, and here we are with that. And now we need to choose a blade. So we have a great blade hilt, a heavy great blade hilt, a cross guard blade, and a flame blade. You can unlock more blades through different books. So if we go to our profession skills and go to weapon crafting and go to basic blade crafting, advanced blade crafting, you see that we have like a pull blade handle we could use, or head, a curate long blade, and riser two-handed swords that we can eventually unlock. And I think that there's a couple different more, but or as far as what's listed, there's those. So we're just going to start out with a great blade. So we're going to create a curate great blade. It's a pretty common sword, and we're going to put our flakestone right here. And then so the blade of the weapon is going to determine its type of damage that you do with the material that's in there. So like messing is for more or less for axes and blunt damage, and whereas steel is more into the piercing and slashing. And we're going to experiment and talk about how these can affect the stats, but it's going to affect the slashing, the piercing, and the blunt damage of the weapon. So let's go ahead and craft this. So the weight of the weapon is 0.78, so it's super light, has 63 durability, the strength requirement's 32. It does 4.2 blunt damage, so you really want to be slashing or piercing with this weapon because it does 18.32 and 19.60. The material that you make your weapon with, as far as the blade goes, will determine what you will be proficient in hitting. So flakestone is really good for PvE and farming mobs and whatnot, but it is not good for PvP. That's because flakestone is a rock and people wear steel and metal when they PvP. So this rock, the damage mitigation between it trying to hit steel is ridiculously good, so you'll probably hit somebody for like 1s to 0s because how strong their armor and what material their armor is made out of. So if we wanted to create a PvP weapon, we would probably use like an Incisium core handle with a silk grip and put steel as the head, and that might make a pretty good PvP weapon. So now that we made that, let's change the handle and see what happens. So we are going to use, I like the horned crossguard preferably, and we're just gonna put another great blade on it. So let's go ahead and craft this. So the weight stays the same, it gives it a bit more durability, and the stats of the damage, it does a little bit more blunt damage. So the handle will heavily affect the durability of the weapon. So this has like a couple more points of durability. That's why I like the horn handle. And let's try this let's try this clover crossguard and see what happens. So we have even greater durability, but the damage is still the same, and the strength requirement is slightly, actually, yeah, it's slightly higher, just by like 0.8. So if I were to make a farming weapon, it would probably be this, since it has the highest durability. Now let's change the blade and show what happens when we change that. Right now we're using the great blade, so let's go to a cross blade, or this flame blade looks really cool. I guess we'll try that. So as you see, it has a bit more piercing and a bit more slashing and a little bit more blunt damage, and the durability went up another point. So if we go to the heavy blade and craft that, it gives it even more durability. Oh my, even more durability. It's a bit heavier, It's almost up to a pound, and it does more slashing damage. So just for to complete everything, let's try the cross guard and see what happens there. So the durability did drop, but the piercing damage went up from everything else. So far it has the highest piercing damage. Or actually no, it actually lowered. And the slashing lowered. And so did the blunt. So I guess the crossguard blade isn't that great, huh? I guess that depends on what type of materials you use for the blade. So if I were to make anything, it would probably be the flakestone heavy great blade with the clover crossguard. It gives excellent durability, and it gives the most slashing and piercing damage. Another thing to note is when you're crafting your weapon, the idea is to make the lightest weapon with the best durability using your best materials, like making a jadeite axe or sword, for example. It's as strong as steel against armors that are made of animal materials, and it's lighter and quicker to swing, but the durability isn't as great, so you'd want to use maybe furs for your grip or find a heavy handle to give it that extra push for durability. So now let's move on to changing the materials of the weapons and see how that affects your stats. So we are going to experiment a little bit. Let's make one base weapon. No, that's Incisium. We don't want to use that. Let's use our Malarium, and we are going to put in the quality leather, and we are going to put in a flakestone head. We have to select our handle again. So we're going to go for the clover crossguard since that seemed to give us the most durability, and I personally prefer the heavy great blade for swords. So when you're making your own weapons, whether it be daggers or axes or maces or anything, you want to figure out what head best fits the handle. The handle is all about durability and the weight of the weapon. The head is all about the damage type of the weapon, and you just kind of have to craft a few and see which one gives the best damage type of the weapon you're using. Like with maces, are you wanting to go for a slashing type of mace or a blunt type of mace? Or axes, are you wanting to do a blunt axe or a slashing axe? And with swords and daggers, do you want more piercing? Do you want more slashing? And then the materials of the head will also determine how much damage is done. And we're going to get into that a little bit. We're going to make a PvP weapon at the end of this. So let's craft this as our base. So we have a flakestone heavy great blade with a clover crossguard. It gives us 77 durability, 35 strength requirement because it weighs less than a pound. It gives us 18 piercing and 2107 slashing. Now what we're going to do is we're going to change the core of the handle and see how that affects the weight or the durability. And what we're going to use is we're going to put in some iron bone. So by changing it to iron bone, it dropped 0.01 of a pound. It lowered the durability by 3, but the damage is still doing the same because of the flakestone. Now let's put in our Malarium again, but let's change the grip of the material. We're using quality leather. Let's add some guard fur. Guard fur is a little bit heavier than leather would be. So we're gonna craft this. Now the weight has went back up to 96 from our first weapon, and the durability raised by 82. So I think it's a little strange that the grip plays more of an effect on durability than the core material, but I'm pretty sure the core material is what determines the weight of the weapon. So if we take out this Malarium and put in we already did iron bone. Let's try compact horn. Has a nice black finish there. It actually made it slightly lighter. It's a little weird, but the idea is you want to try to find the most durability from the least weapon weight. Now let's try it with silk. We're gonna change the grip to silk, and we're gonna bring this. That's Incisium. We're gonna bring over Malarium. So we got Malarium, silk, and we're going to see how this compares to the first weapon we made. So if we look, it's slightly less durable, and it still weighs the same. let's change the core material back out to iron bone, just to play around there. We'll compare it to the other iron bone blade. So which one was, I have to look to see which one was iron bone. Alright, it's the second one, cool. So from the other iron blade, the weight's still the same. The durability is slightly less. That's because of the grip material, and the damage is still the same. So hopefully you can get sort of an idea of how things are working here. Now we're going to create a PvP weapon, something that I'll actually be using out in the world, and we're going to see what those should be. But I'm going to use silk as a handle. We might make two. I don't want to waste too much steel. But so what we're going to do here is we're going to throw the Incisium. We're going to have an Incisium core. Incisium is just basically upgraded Malarium. It's like the next tier up. We're going to use silk, and then for the head, we're going to make steel. So we have a steel heavy great blade. Alright, so steel heavy great blade. As you see, the durability is over 100, much higher than any of the flake stone. It weighs 2.3 pounds, so it's a little bit more heavier. The slashing is almost a third, is like 27. The piercing's 25. The strength requirement is up there too. So if we take the silk out and replace it with quality leather, we'll try this and see what happens, and then we'll make one more. Oh, that used a lot of steel. So the durability compared to the other is it dropped the durability by 1, which is really strange because over in the on the flakestone side, it actually raised the durability by a lot. As you see, it went from 82 durability from 77 of our base weapon by switching to the guard first. So it's weird, right, that on the flakestone weapons it raises durability by that much, but on these weapons it actually, oh, that was because it was guard fur. Let's try guard fur, fuck it. Alright, here we go. Now we can talk about it. So the weight of the weapon is still the same from everything else. That's because of the core material still Incisium. The durability raised from the grip, so it actually raised pretty significantly. It gave it about another 12 points of durability, and the damage remained the same because of the steel. So we have a couple steel swords now, and I don't want to waste any more. But I hope that this helps you understand ways of weapon crafting. Your core material is going to heavily affect the weight of the weapon. Your grip material is going to affect the durability of the weapon, and your head material is going to affect the weapon, the weapon damage type. So, but everything does play a part in the ways of weight and durability. It's just some things make it way more than others. Some things affect it more than others. The type of handle you would use or the type of head you would use would make the weapon weigh more, weigh less, do different damage, have different durability stats. So it's all about a little bit of experimenting and trying to understand what is the best weapon type for what you want to do or what the person is looking for. When it comes to like daggers, it's really important to have a heavy weak spot with daggers, or have a more consistent weak spot. Yeah, the dexterity of the character will play a part in that, but it's also the weapon head materials and the type of handle you use that will play a bigger role in weak spotting chances. Whereas in axes, you want a lot of blunt damage, so you want to look for a material like messing, like emulgi, like malarium or incisium, to help give you that blunt. But you also want to keep the weapon weight down so they can swing it fast and efficiently, unless you're trying to make a big mounted combat axe that, you know, might want to be a dismounting type of axe. Then you want it really heavy, and a really strong character can only wield it. It's all about you or your customer and what they're looking for in their weapon. But ultimately, the handles, the material of the handles is going to affect the weight and durability. The head is going to affect the type of damage you do. But overall, as a product, it I'm not sure the math to really get into it, but it all plays a part in the durability and in the weapon weight. So hopefully this guide helps a little bit. I know it was a short one, but yeah, I learned a lot doing it. So hopefully you guys learned something and understood something. So now let's get out in the yard and test these weapons. Alright, you're gonna be in my video for a second. So, a guildmate here just raised a bunch of walkers. We're gonna test the damage of our swords we just made. So, let's test this steel. Damn, 71. This thing hits like a truck. Like I said, it's a little slow for my liking, but I gotta figure out how to get this weapon weight down. Those are strong. Oh, they are strong walkers. I was like, that shouldn't take that much. Golly. It's alright. Alright, I'm gonna go grab one of the other ones I just made. The flake stand. We're gonna test that. So the one we're gonna test is the Malarium, Guardfur, and Flakestone one that we just made. For some reason, you know what? I didn't even try to name my weapon. I have 100 weapon crafting. I should have been able to name them. I just didn't think about it. I would have probably made the guide a little easier to keep track of. Alright, so this does 35. That's about on par with the flakestone weapon. As you see, it swings a whole lot faster because it's a whole lot lighter. Oh, there's an outlaw. Oh yeah, let's fight this guy. Oh, come on now. There we go. Alright, we're gonna change our weapon in the middle of this fight. Alright. 85 to the head. 80. Yes, I was sitting here just thinking, I'm like, how can I end this video? And this is, yeah, this is really good. Actually, what would be cool if we can if we can test the handle hits. 21 hit on a handle hit? 21 on a handle hit for the steel? It's crazy. Alright, let's test the handle hit on this Flakestone Malarium. And again, I think I'm using the Guardfur grip. 16. That ain't bad. My sword skill's not exactly 100 either. It's like really low. But yeah, hopefully you learned something. Hopefully you learned something in this guide. I know I did. I thought this would be a little bit more in depth and have a little bit more intricacies. But apparently it's pretty straightforward, pretty easy to understand. You just want to find the right materials for the you want to make sure you're fitting the parts together right. Choose the right handles, choose the right blades, the right materials for the weapon you're crafting. And yeah, if you're looking for a guild, we got we got a guard tower. We're always recruiting, looking for mentors and students, and I don't know how to end videos, so I will see you in the next one.